Hello, guys, and welcome back to the stream. I'm so sorry. I was trying to iron out some tech issues, but today we're going to be learning about how to land your first brand deal. And I'm sure this is something that a lot of you creators are very interested in. And this is a workshop again for the Creator Accelerator program, which I keep talking about, but it's because I am so excited about this. This is a program hosted by both Blurp and Streamladder, and it is to motivate us creators to go and lock in and grow in a 6-week window. Dun, 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 dun. So we are currently on week 3, and this is the third workshop of this week. So super excited. We are halfway through, guys. Can you believe it? I cannot believe it's already been halfway through. I'm so excited seeing everybody's posts, everybody's grinding, and let's get right into it because there's some tech issues. Had to get the starting student screen up a little bit longer. Today, we're going to be learning about how to land your first brand deal. And I'm sure as creators, that's something you're very excited to learn about. And it's also something that there's not a lot of transparency about. So also, if you guys have any questions, feel free to jot it down, note it, etc., because there will be a Q&A section at the end as well. I really do want to answer a lot of questions that you guys may have because there's so little clear information about how to land brand deals. So let's get started. So, for some background, I am a full-time content creator. I've been full-time content creating for 3 years, but I've actually been creating for 8 total years. And for a chunk of these years, brand deals were a majority of my income. So, I have landed a fair amount of brand deals. I've done it all. I've done this, that, and the third. So, I just want to add, oh, let me real quick, hold on. Sorry, doing some live time tech adjustments. I just realized it's like cropping off a little bit at the top. There we go. Um, Just to let you guys know, if you guys are a nano influencer, a lot of times it's kind of like, oh, will brand deals work for me? Will brands want to work for me if I am a smaller creator? I just want to add these two pieces of data that came out recently in 2026 to show you guys that nano influencing, which are influencers with 10,000 or less combined followers, is in. In fact, brands are actually investing more into nano influencers than they are into macro or mega influencers. Here we have an article on the left hand side. This is from the Harvard website highlighting a study that was done and indicating that looking at sales data, nano influencers with fewer than 10,000 followers had a remarkable average return, as you see written here, of more than $1,000 on a $50 investment, which is the typical worth of a free product they would receive. Conversely, macro influencers, so people with more than 100K, command a high price tag of over $1,000 on average, but deliver a return of only around 6,000. Now, here we have on the right hand side another article, a graph put out with estimations of data going into 2027, highlighting that you can see in 2026, right? And moving forward, there is a massive trend, an upward shift in the amount of spending brands are putting in to nano influencers, which this page has cataloged between 1 to 5,000 followers, and micro influencers between 5 to 20,000 followers. So the reason why I'm showing this to you guys is, again, a lot of times if you're a smaller creator, you're like, oh, I don't know if brands want to work with you. Brands do. In fact, brands want to work with you more than other creators, and they're investing more into you guys. So if you are a creator that has not landed a brand deal yet, or you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I should reach out, I want this to be a sign that the answer is yes. And the answer is you should reach out. So going into this, first up, it's a bit hefty, I know, but I want to run a bunch of key definitions for you guys, because these are going to be terms that will commonly come up in the discussion of brand deals, so that this is things that you guys should know as creators. The very first one is the term affiliate. It's basically when a company wants to sponsor you to promote a product to drive sales. And the key frame is that you receive a percentage of the sales. So an affiliate percentage will range anywhere on the very low end, 3 to 5%. On the high end, I've seen affiliate percentages, commissions going upwards of like 20%. I will say if it gets higher than that, if they're offering you a affiliate sale percentage of like 50%, that in itself is a red flag because it indicates the pricing of the actual product is a bit suspicious. Um, Affiliate deals can be beneficial to creators who are just starting out, who want to get like some brand deal experience kind of like under their belts. If you are a larger creator, affiliate deals can be a bit 50-50, and they might not yield enough pay for the work and the brand value you're putting in. The second term that is often brought up is alignment, which refers to the degree your niche and audience will align with that of the brand. So a lot of brands want to work with creators that have a similar alignment or a similar similarity to what the audience is trying to represent. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. You want to work with brands that have similar alignment to you. And if you are very, very different from the brand, like let's say the brand is like, I don't know, a fitness brand and they want to work with you and you literally never work out, you will have to also question why the brand is reaching out. And maybe this might not be the ideal partnership. Next up, compensation is pretty self-explanatory. It's the money or payment that you receive. Compensation may not always actually refer to money. It may sometimes refer to just receiving product or receiving a service. Next up, competitors. These are any companies that are in the same category as the sponsor. So hypothetically, we're using Corsair as an example. Corsair is a peripheral company. If you were to work with Corsair and they say, oh, we don't want you to work with our competitors, that may indicate you cannot work with brands like Razer or HyperX or, other headsets and other peripheral brands because they're in the same category. Next up is CPM. This stands for clicks per mil. This is a bit deceptive because the mil does not stand for million. It for some reason stands for 1,000. So it's basically how much you get paid per 1,000 engagement or views. Deliverable is what you are doing for the brand. So if the brand is like, a deliverable is like we want you to make one TikTok video for us. That one TikTok video is your deliverable. The deliverable can be more than one thing. So the brand can be like, we want you to make 3 Instagram stories, 1 Instagram reel, and 1 Instagram carousel post. Those are all your deliverables. Next up is your engagement rate. This one I'm pretty sure you guys already know, but it refers to the ratio of the engagement, or like the ratio of the interactions your content gets, likes, comments, shares, etc., versus the amount of views that you have on your video. Exclusivity is where the company does not want you to work with competitors for X amount of time. So you see the mention of the word competitors again. Exclusivity, when it's sold, always has a time limit. They cannot make you exclusive forever. Okay. That is a scam. Next up is an invoice. Essentially, invoice is a big, scary word. If you've never invoiced before, it's like, what is this? It's essentially a receipt, a documentation of the services completed. If you make like one TikTok video, it'll literally say, one TikTok video for so and so brand. They paid like payments, this much money. And then I'll have like the brand's billing information on it, and you just give it to them. It's a glorified little tax document so that when the IRS comes around, they have proof they paid you for the service. So next up, likeness. This is the usage of your face and branding in their content. A media kit, which we will show a little bit later, it's like a documentation showing information regarding your demographic, analytics, and follower accounts as creators. Now, a rate card is a one-sheet document listing all the deliverables you offer and how much you price for it. So it would say, I don't know, one TikTok video, this much, one Instagram post, this much, one Instagram reel, this much, one Instagram story, this much. Sponsorships. Again, that's when a creator pays you, that's when a company, sorry, pays you as a creator X amount of money. Sometimes it's not money. Sometimes it's just an agreement. I'll give you the product, you make a video. UGC stands for user generated content. This one is a bit interesting because this is a situation where a brand gives you a product and slash or payments, and you make a video and you give it to the company to use. It doesn't actually go onto your pages. So that's one other method. We will touch a little bit upon that later. Other one, usage rights. This is when you give your video to the company or your post, etc., and you allow them to use that video to post. They can do whatever they want with it. This most of the time also has a time limit. So you would sell a usage right, and we'll again touch upon that later, in windows of like 3 months, 1 month, 3 months, 1 year. There is fringe cases where you can sell in perpetuity usage rates, which in perpetuity stands for forever. And that is very expensive. If a brand wants you to give them in perpetuity usage rates, which again, have access to this content forever, and they don't want to pay you for this, that is a scam. And finally, whitelisting. Whitelisting is when a company runs ads on the video posted to your page. So let's say hypothetically, Streamladder worked with me and I made a video for them and it goes onto my TikTok page. And then Streamladder's like, hey, Kat, we want to run ads on it. It'll go through the video on your page and they'll put ads on that. So that's what whitelisting is. It's all hypothetical. So again, here is an example of a media kit. This is the documentation that you make. Now, what do you use a media kit for? This will be used when you are pitching yourself to companies. So you will typically attach this to the email or send it in DMs if you are communicating through DMs, and it'll have a bit of information on it. The information can vary because you make this yourself, but typically it will contain obviously your handle. It will contain a little about me, just a brief one. You don't need to give a whole life summary on there. Your social followings, and what really matters on here, which is what the brands really care about, is they want to see your demographic. So they want to see the gender breakdown of your audience, the location breakdown of your audience, and your analytics. And then you also want to provide a contact. And the reason for this and the reason why the demographic and is really important is going back to what I was talking about earlier about brand alignment. A brand wants to work with a creator that has an audience that typically buys from that brand. So again, using hypothetical example. Now let's use Blurp as an example, right? Hypothetically, I don't know Blurp's analytics, but hypothetically, maybe Blurp's main predominant audience maybe is 60% male between the ages of 18 to 30. Okay, so they would want to work with a creator that fits their demographic because let's say hypothetically creator A has a predominant audience of 30 plus and majority women. Well, then that creator's audience will not be the target audience for Blurp's product. Again, these are all hypothetical numbers, not legal advice, don't sue me. But this is just an example of why brands care so much about demographics. So if they can't find your demographics or it's not easily available, it will decrease your chances of working with a brand. So, before we get into brand deals, first up, we need to think about how to set your page up for success and how to set up your social media so that brands, when they come and look at your socials, will want to work with you. Because when it comes to a brand deal and when it comes to working with a brand, your social media pages is the most important thing. You can write a beautiful pitch email and you can sell a great story in the outreach, but if your social media pages are not selling it, it's not really going to work. So the first one that you really want to have is clear branding. When it comes to look at your page, when a brand comes to look, does everything look really cohesive on one glance? Does it look like everything is put together? Or does it kind of look like somebody's, hee hee XD posting account? That is very important. The second one, this is the most crucial one by far. Please, please, please have a visible business email. I feel like this is now transparent information. People have harped on this for so long. My business email right there is in my bio. You want to put it easily available. Sometimes if your bio is very long, there's a little fold. It will say see more and you have to click it to see more. That alone will hide your business email. Put your business email higher up in your bio so it actually shows up without people having to click the see more button. Also, secondly, put your location. Because again, going back to alignment, brands want to work with creators that live in the country that they ship products to. So, or if not that, at least you have an audience that lives in the country that they ship products to. It wouldn't make sense for a company that ships only within the US to work with a creator based in China. You don't live in the country they sell products to. So, this is why location is very important. For safety reasons, if you don't want to declare too much information, you can just put Canada. You can just put USA. Ideally, you could just put a major city that you live near. So, if you live near LA, you could just put LA. Close enough, right? And then you guys can work out the logistics later. But that is helpful to add so that brands really know whether they can work with you or not. That the location makes a big difference. Another one is have a clear idea of your content and what you post. So when somebody comes to your page, they really like, because if you think about it from a brand outreach, right, there's a person working at this brand. And if you outreach, they're like, oh, okay, who is so and so emailing me? Let me click their social media page. They're just gonna, they're human, right? They're not gonna spend a lot of time on this. They're just gonna do like a quick scroll. And if they can't tell what type of content you create, they're going to pass on you, unfortunately. So, like with my page, you take one scroll, you know, okay, 3 ways to make more money as a creator. Here are like 3 tips to grow as a Twitch streamer. Like you can tell this is like a creator education account. Um, so that's one thing that I just want you to keep in mind. take a look at your page, open it, and do a quick scroll. Pretend you are not yourself, right? Pretend you're a third party looking at your page. In one scroll, can you get a good idea of what content you create? If the answer is no, we just need to do a little bit of rebranding. It's not cooked. It's not the end of the world. We just need to do a little bit of fixing. And finally, pin your best work. In this screenshot, this is my the main page, but on your Reels tab, and this is for every social media page, pin your best videos. I want you to pin one video that you think is the best representation of yourself and the type of content you create. Secondly, pin your best showcase video. What I mean by this is like a video showcasing like products or something like that, or a service, so that when a brand were to scroll, they have an idea of how working with you would look like. And the third video, you know, I like to pin a video that I think is good, but that maybe didn't get as many views as I feel like it should have. Another thing you could also pin is, again, another video that you think you edited super well. Like, this is your best work. Pin it up at the top, because when people open your page, the first thing they see is the three pin videos. And please use all three pins. Maximize it. Okay. We really want you to use all of them, because it's going to be wasted space if you don't. So this is the question everybody loves to ask. Where do you find brand deals? So you can take a screenshot. Influencer platforms are a great place to find brand deals. I will say these are location based. So hashtag paid, I believe, is US and Canadian. Some of these platforms are US only. So these are mainly ones that I've used, so I'm going to recommend them. But Aspire, or it was aspire.io, and they now rechanged their URL. I think it's like aspireiq.com. They post a lot of brand deals, paid and gifting. So this is one where you can land paid deals. Coley I personally have landed paid deals from them. I will also add, I am not sponsored. None of this stuff is sponsored. This is just stuff that I personally use. Mini Social, you sign up for it on their website. It is an email chain though, so they don't really have like an actual website. They just email you with brands and campaigns. These are all mainly gifting and for nano/micro influencers. So if you are a bit larger, I wouldn't particularly recommend this one. Obviously, is a site that offers both paid, and they also have a lot of PR. So if you are a creator just looking for PR with no posting obligations, obviously is one. Later was a site that went by a previous name that later rebranded. Um, Personally have landed paid deals from there. So you just go up and sign up. Actually, fun fact, I actually have a sponsored stream after this stream that I actually found from later. Hashtag paid is both US and Canadian. She Speaks is a platform, I believe that they are a women-only platform. She Speaks, I think Influencer Collective are the two that are women-only, but they offer a lot of collabs. And again, it's just because like the brands specifically want to target like a predominantly female audience. So that's kind of why this happens. Collectively is another platform that you can use. So, outreaching. Another way to go get brand deals is to email brands. This is so helpful. And this is a post that was actually put out by the brand manager of Elgato, one of them. He put this out in threads, and I just grabbed these screenshots because let's just hear it from the source themselves, right? But better from the person who actually does brand deals, right? So how should you write an outreach email? Which is the second and honestly probably the main way you're going to be outreaching to brands. This both works for email and it also works for DMs. So let's break this down. Miguel says, first up, you want a strong personalized intro of 2 to 4 sentences to hook the brand. So the example he gives is, hi, Sarah, I'm Miguel, a gaming dad streaming Call of Duty on Twitch and YouTube while juggling family. My audience are working parents wanting to stay sharp in limited playtime. I'm a longtime Elgato user, and I love how the Stream Deck and Facecam clean up my setup. So just short and sweet. A big one I want to add, a pitfall that some people fall into, is giving a full life story. I would avoid going super long into this. Just short and sweet, hit the points, an elevator pitch, 30 seconds or less. Next one, a crystal clear purpose. Why do you want to work with this brand? So in this case, the example Miguel gave is, I would love to review and feature your new product in my upcoming series. Or hypothetically, with so-and-so game launching, I'm thrilled to be considered for early keys and seeding. See, be specific. This is another thing, another pitfall that a lot of creators fall into when it comes to outreaching to brands. They'll be like, hey, Streamladder, I really want to work with you guys. Peace. And if you think about it from the brand's perspective, if they see the outreach email and they're like, okay, Kat wants to work with me, how exactly is this going to look like, right? So it helps so much if you as the creator, right? Because you are the most familiar with your own content. You come up with an idea of how this brand deal is going to work, how this brand partnership is going to look like. So in Miguel's case, right here, example, I need one review unit of, I don't know, a stream deck and two giveaway codes. Early access by November or early access by November 20th for launch day content for the game, right? So this is how the partnership is going to look like. So D, your value prop. What's in it for the brand? Why should the brand work with you specifically? So Miguel adds, so deliverables, you could do one long form YouTube review and three Instagram reels, two Twitch streams. These are, by the way, those are a lot. You could also offer like a little bit less. Um, also offer, like, oh, here are some links of like example content pieces that I've done before. And then also adding another example, committing to a full in-depth review or three short clips. What Miguel adds here, I think, is also really helpful. Link relevant content when you're outreaching to the brand so the brand knows how it's going to look like. And I think this for brand deals is the most important because when a brand again were to like look at the outreach email and be like, okay, so why do I want to work with so and so? Like, why do I want to work with Dozer, right? Now, if Dozer had a bunch of videos showcasing a product review that they've done, doesn't have to be for Elgato, it would help though. But like a product review of, I don't know, like a camera review or something, the brand can then look at that and be like, wow, I really like how this creator reviewed this camera. And I really like how I don't know, they highlighted key features they loved about the camera and showed an actual use case. So now when hypothetical brand manager were to look at the video and they'll be like, oh, okay. Well, now when it comes to working with this creator, I can imagine how it would look like if they were to review my product. So you just want to make it as clear as possible. Have good examples. If you don't have any, make them. Do a little like, find a product that you love to use. So for example, if you have a favorite headset, right? I love this headset. Just make a review of it, post it to your page organically, and then that can be your proof of work, your proof of concept that when you outreach to brands, you can always link this one headset video to be like, oh, okay, by the way, here's an example of me reviewing a product so you can see how it looks like. And keep in mind, cater your proof of work to the type of brand deal you want. If you want to work with games, then you obviously would make a game review based video. So that's what you would be sending to brands. If you want to review software, make a software review video. And then that is what you're sending to brands, right? Like if I wanted to reach out to Streamladder, I wouldn't link a headset review. I would link a review of me reviewing a software, right? So just keep that in mind, but you want to always have a proof of work to show so that it really seals the deal. Um, Finally, close out the email politely. So, thank them, show enthusiasm, and a clean sign out like, thank you for your time, happy to hop on call or send some more info. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Best, Miguel, and then some social links. That is a great way to end the outreach email. By the way, you would be surprised how rude some people are in these emails. They're like, give me free product, haha. So the big one is just there is a human at the other end of the email. Treat them like a human being. Dun 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 dun. So now we're getting to a tricky part. How do you price yourself as a creator? A lot of creators always ask themselves this. These are a couple options. So let's look at the left one first because the right one, I'm going to pull up a page for this. This is a way that you can, okay, there are many, many ways that you can calculate how to price yourself as a creator. The very first one I'll tell you, if you've ever received an outreach from a mobile game brand, there's probably one that came to the top of mind already for you guys, right? Whatever mobile game brand outreach to you, do not take a rate lower than that. Mobile game brands have a lot of money. So that should be the bare minimum of what you are accepting as a brand deal. Um the the second one, this is the math for it, okay? So you take an RPM. Oh, this is actually a truly unfortunate time for an ad break to hit. It's okay. I truly apologize for the ads. I have to put it on my page, otherwise Twitch will stick pre-rolls. In the meantime, though, don't worry about it. I'm not gonna pull up anything important during the ad. I'm actually gonna take this time to pull up a website instead. I'll show you guys the websites, and then even hold on, there you go. And then I'll just demo it again. Sorry, that actually is a truly unfortunate time for the ad to hit. So let me just do this. pull this up here. Don't worry, guys. I'm pausing. This is another site that I recommend creators use to determine how much you should get paid for a brand deal. I love this site. It is called Clara for Creators. And this is a site like anonymous Yelp, essentially, where people can go and submit reviews for brand deals they've done. So I just want you guys to go and, when it comes to doing a brand deal, scroll through this website. And let me just grab a link for you guys real quick so I can drop this in chat. Scroll through a website. Take a look, okay? I want you to take a look at the following size that creator who worked with that brand has, and then the amount of deliverables they offered and the total comp. So how much they got paid. So for this Dunkin' Donuts example, this creator got paid $12,500 for one Dunkin' Donut reel. And they have between 10 to 20,000 followers on Instagram. And they also leave a review as well. So welcome back from the ads, guys. Sorry, I just skipped anything important during the ads. I'm just demoing this site, Clara for Creators. It's a great website if you also are trying to figure out how to price yourself, because you can see how other creators of around your size priced brand deals. So this Dunkin' Donuts example, they gave an example of what they did. It was $12,500 for one Instagram reel. They're between 10 to 20,000 followers. Another example, we have Dove. This person is between 5 to 10,000 followers. On Instagram, this was for one Instagram reel. They were paid $750. But they also highlighted some experiences working with the brands, that there was some reshoots necessary because the brief wasn't accurate and they still haven't been paid yet. So there is that. So I'm just saying, I recommend you go through this page as a creator. You can also, so here, you can also go and search for brands as well. So you can go look under brands. If there's a brand that you're thinking about working with, you can go scroll, like, I don't know, let's say you really want to work with, let's do Cheetos. Let's see, somebody between 7 to 10 million followers did a hot Cheeto TikTok campaign, $9,000 for one video. So you can just go and look and read and see how it kind of plays out. And you should not price yourself again. This is like a good marker to judge how much you should price yourself, because you're seeing another person's example of their own pricing. And then let me pull up the another one. This is the most standard way of pricing, is you do math, unfortunately. So you go off of your engagement, or like your average views for the month. So hypothetically, we're using TikTok as an example. Hypothetically on TikTok, if you average 30,000 views, your CPM would kind of base roughly around your engagement rate. These numbers differ depending on what social media platform you're on. TikTok has the highest engagement rate. And what was funny is that a study was recently released, I think a week ago, ranking the engagement rates of social media platforms, and Instagram is the lowest by far. Instagram's engagement rate is actually somehow lower than Pinterest, and Pinterest isn't even a social media platform, which is honestly just wild. But you would go gauge your engagement rate here. So hypothetically, if you have a high engagement rate of between 0.05 to high engagement rate of 12% or higher, your CPM would be 5 cents to 7 cents. And then you'd multiply that by your average views, and that would give you a range of how much you should charge per post. So that's one way to kind of keep in mind as well. The rule of thumb is these are roughly the CPMs you could expect for TikTok. YouTube, you can do the same math, a similar types of math, but YouTube, the standard RPM is around $30 per 1,000 views. So let's say on YouTube you average 50,000 views, and then we use an RPM of 30, you can roughly estimate to charge like $1,500 for a ad segment in your YouTube video. So that's the YouTube number. Another way that you can go and calculate how much to charge. There is a website that can teach you how much you should charge for brand deals. So let me pull this up real quick. This is the final website that I'm going to show you. I don't know if I can grab a link for this one, but this is the final website I'm going to show you, and this is the Beacons pricing calculator. You go to the website beacons.ai, you go under the brand deals tab, and then under here you have tools, okay? So they have a bunch of tools. You can generate a W-9 and you can generate an invoice. This is a really, really helpful tool for creators, but pricing calculator is one that's super helpful. So the way this works is you select which platform, then you select which deliverable it is. So I've already pre-populated this for Instagram, one Instagram reel, and then how many followers. I just put how many followers you have, and to figure out what your engagement rate is, you can actually log into your accounts. Previously, in order to do this, you would have to go to a third-party page, put in your social media handle, and then let it load, and then get your engagement rate and then put it in here. So thankfully they have it in here now. It can calculate a rate for you and it gives you a sweet spot and a range. So for me, it tells me that for a reel, I should charge anywhere between $600 to $800. By the way, this is not set in stone. You can change this number obviously based on what you feel you bring to the table. I charge higher than this for one Instagram reel and I get paid for it. So but there's also an advanced section as well that you can populate. So you can select other things. What is the size of the brand or sponsor? It's pretty self-explanatory, but the bigger the company is, typically the more money they have to spend. So at least personally, when it comes to brand deals, if it's a small startup, I charge way less than if it is a large enterprise company. Usage rates, again, this is what we talked about earlier. Usage rates increase the pricing of your content. Whitelisting increases the pricing. And then exclusivity, all of this increases the pricing. So let's say hypothetically we're doing a medium business. They do want 3 months of usage. They don't want whitelisting. They don't want it, and they don't want exclusivity. So now, by the calculations, now it says the rate has gone up to 800. So you can calculate this for a bunch of other stuff as well. Let me close the advanced calculator. Yeah. So here, these are examples of what they give for some Instagram stories, Instagram post versus Instagram reel. We can do YouTube as well. How many followers do you have for YouTube? This is a rough gauge that they're getting. TikTok, this is a rough gauge. And you notice, right? TikTok pays the least. Um, it is platform by platform specific, but like follower if the followers were all the same and the average views were the same, TikTok pays you the least. And a lot of brands still like working with Instagram. Instagram's engagement is the lowest by far, right? As that study that I mentioned had just put out. But a lot of millennial brands, like established brands, they still value Instagram a lot more and they will pay more for it. And YouTube, from personal experience at least, pays the most. So these are just some rough things you could be expecting on how to gauge pricing for a brand deal. The general rule of thumb as well is if this is like your first time doing brand deals, the number that you're going to throw out for a brand deal is going to feel very, very uncomfortable. And that gives twofold, okay? Either you price correctly or you are undercharging and then you realize midway through that you're undercharging and it makes you feel uncomfortable. So like I mentioned prior, other things that you increase your rate, again, exclusivity. So, how to price for exclusivity? I do think the Beacons calculator is really helpful. There are some numbers that I would increase more for it. To price exclusivity, you would price based on how much money you would lose. So let's use a hypothetical example. Hypothetically, you want to work with a headset company. I'm going to use HyperX as a hypothetical example, right? And let's say hypothetically, HyperX wants me to be exclusive to them for 6 months. This is all hypothetical. All examples. Now, let's say in this hypothetical example, I get maybe like one headset deal every 3 months, hypothetically. So if HyperX wants me to be exclusive to them for a 6 month window, I would lose two brand deals for doing that. That is a cost that they would have to eat. So keep that in mind. That would be how you would price it. You would price it based on like the two brand deals you would lose. Whitelisting, when they're running ads through your page, this you should also charge for. A lot of brands like to gaslight you and they're like, well, it's going to help you get more viewers. No, it doesn't. It does actually help you like nothing. Okay. It helps the brand because they're getting a free ad running through your page. You should charge them for it. The pricing for this can vary. It again is dependent on time. A lot of people would maybe charge like half of what the brand deal was. Usage rates, it's again, they get full usage of your video. In perpetuity usage rights is disturbingly expensive. A lot of brands are not willing to pay the correct amount for it. It is like you would price an in perpetuity, so again, a forever usage based on how the potential increase of your brand exposure. So you basically would charge 10 times more, 5 to 10 times more than what the original brand deal would have costed. And sometimes people are like, "Oh, but like that's an astronomically high rate. Nobody would pay that." Brands will pay. From experience, they do pay for it. Correct brands, that is, not ones that are trying to scam you. And then a short turnover is sometimes this is always a 50-50 because sometimes with a short turnover, it's like agreed upon for the brand deal, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, okay, the brand deal we have like we want you to turn over the video in like 1 week. Okay, that's like relatively short for a brand deal. Um, that's something to keep in mind. But if they're like, hey, we want you to turn the video over in like 48 hours, rush fee, because that's too quick. Now, coming on to brand deals, it always sounds like fine and dandy, hee hee XD, we're doing brand deals, getting paid. Red flags. These are things that I really want you guys to be aware of when it comes to doing your first brand deal, okay? Um, a humongous red flag is when things are added into the contract that wasn't agreed upon. Please, please, please read the contract before you do the brand deal because brands lie all the time. They will tell you in email, "Oh, yeah, I don't know, hypothetically, right? Yeah, sugar, I'm gonna go pay you a rush fee of X amount of money to do this in a 2-day window." And then they won't put it in the contract. And what is legally binding is the contract, not the email. So if you signed it and it's not in there, always read the contract. It's something called redlining, where you go through the contract and you literally mark up all the points, right, that you have issues with, debate it with the brand. I'm here to tell you guys everything is negotiable. Everything. When a brand says, "Oh, well, like, we can't do this, that, or the third," or like, "We can't extend the posting window. We need you to post it in 40 hours." You can negotiate it. Be like, "Hey, really want to work with you guys. I can't do 48 hours. Can I do it for you guys by the end of this week?" Everything is negotiable. Even if a brand says that they can't do something, you can work it around. A humongous red flag is the phrase unconditional, irrevocable likeness. Like I mentioned earlier, likeness is their usage of your face, your voice, your everything pertaining to your brand, your name, okay? Brands do not need unconditional, irrevocable likeness, okay? Irrevocable, bad. You just tell the brand, remove that, okay? There's basically no need for this contract, for that line, unless you sold in perpetuity usage. Then, well, they have usage of that video. The it gets a little bit legal jargon. I'm not an attorney, so to run it by an attorney, but humantic red flag there. Also, ownership, okay? A lot of brands try to sneak ownership into your videos, into the contract. No, unless they paid for it, they don't get it. Another one, rushing the deal, changing the dates, whatever. Or sorry, this is not a contract thing, but in general, trying to get you to sign the contract immediately, humongous red flag. If they're like, "Hey, so and so, we really want to work with you. Da 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 da. Sign this contract today." Huge red flag. That's like love bombing. Big red flag in relationships, big red flag for brand deals. Okay, humongous red flag, but huge scam as well. You, as the creator, having to pay for the item that you're supposed to be sponsored for. You should never pay. Okay, the brand should pay for everything. So, receiving the product, the price of the product, the shipping costs, everything related to that, you should pay. Giving an example from personal experience, a lot of times, sometimes the brand will make you buy the product, but they give you a gift card to purchase it. Because for reasons, it's like a lot easier if you just bought it yourself. Sometimes they don't give you enough money on the gift card. And then you look at it, and you're like, you go back to them, you're like, "Hey, can I get another one?" They'll give you another one. You can always ask for more. Another big red flag is the AI/slash copy pasta emails. Even funnier when it didn't populate correctly, so it just says, "Hey, insert name." Um, that is a red flag because it shows the brand didn't do research on you as a creator, right? Because like, why would the brand want to work with you if they know nothing about you? That in its own is a red flag. If they're sending out like casting a wide net, casting all these copy pasta emails to all of these creators, it means they're just waiting to see which creator bites the bullet, like, gets caught in the net and comes in. 99% of the time, these brand deals are not gonna be worth it. They're gonna give you a run for your money. It's gonna be a horrible experience. So, It's always sus. Another one is an unreasonably low rate, right? When they outreach to you and they're like, "Hey, I want you to make a video for me. Can you make like 10 videos and I'm gonna pay you $30 for it?" You can negotiate everything, including a rate. Even if a brand says, "Hey, the most we can pay you is like, um, I don't know, $300 for a video," you could be like, "Hey, can you do 500?" Or you can negotiate it. You could be like, "Okay, I'll take the 300, but instead of like a video on my biggest platform, I'll give you a video on my medium-sized platform," something, something. But if a brand throws out an astronomically unreasonably low rate, it's not worth negotiating because they're going to be cheap and they're going to cut every single corner of the brand deal. When it comes to negotiating, emailing, whatever, it's going to be a horrific experience. Don't do it. And then the final one, and what I mentioned prior, is when the brand has absolutely no knowledge of your content. Because again, why are they trying to work with you? That on its own is a red flag. It's again like dating when somebody's trying to date you, but they know literally nothing about you. Why? Same thing for brand deals. It's a big, big, big red flag. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to go and drop them in chat because we're gonna swap into the Q&A section. Mm, a couple of things that I wanted to add real quick before, like, feel free to drop questions. These are my socials if you want to go follow me. If you don't want to, feel you don't have to as well. A couple links that I just want to drop real quick, and it's absolutely no pressure. I do have a sponsorship guide that is also completely free. I need to actually, I'm gonna be honest, I need to update it because some of the information is a teeny bit outdated. But for the most part, the information is still very, very relevant, and it goes a little bit more into um like invoicing and things like that, which I didn't cover today, mainly because it's a bit too nuanced, I feel, for like a post, like a thing like this. But the main ways you'll get paid as well as a creator is you'll get paid. The brand will ask you to send them an invoice, and they'll pay you either through PayPal, the direct deposit straight into your bank accounts, or they will have you onboard onto their influencer platform. That one is the most tedious by far. So this is the guide. If you would like to check it out, absolutely no pressure. If you don't want to, you most definitely don't have to. Another thing that I actually skipped the slide, but there are other brands that a lot of creators like to work for that also have influencer platforms. So one that I just want to, if you want to work with Lenovo, now again, not sponsored, not sponsored. They have an influencer platform that you could onboard onto. Another one is, wait, Adobe. A lot of people ask, because I have a long working relationship with them. A lot of people ask me like how they have an ambassador program. This is the sign up for it. So if you want to go sign up, I dropped all the links in chat. Feel free to go check it out, or don't if you don't want to. But these are just options out there. Do I have any tax advice for people working with brands? Oh boy. I'm in the middle of doing my taxes right now, so I can't give you a bunch of tax advice. Let me preface the tax advice I'll provide. A lot of legal jargon so I don't get sued. 1, I'm not an attorney. 2, I'm not a lawyer. 3, I'm not a financial analyst. And 4, I do not do taxes as a job. Take everything I say with a grain of salt as a content creator who has done her own taxes telling you this. And I'm only speaking on US taxes. Getting so as a creator, a couple of things that you want to do for taxes is 1, you want to pay your estimated taxes, or your AKA your quarterly taxes. You pay that 4 times a year, January 15th, April 15th, which is also when taxes are due, September 15th, and January 15th. Wait, I'm missing one date. No, it's like April, July, September, and then January of the next year. So those are the 4 quarters you should pay it. As somebody who's a freelancer or self-employed, or you are a content creator, so you are like a self-employed person, you should pay your quarterly taxes. By far, it will make your taxes a lot better so you don't get absolutely bodied at the end of the year. If you pay your quarterly taxes, you will also pay less taxes. If you don't pay it on time, you will get fined. You can also pay state quarterly taxes if you do have state income tax. I live in California. For state income, for at least California's quarterly taxes, you pay it 3 times a year instead of 4 for some reason. They don't make you pay in September. Don't know why, but that's just how it works. So brands should give you a 1099 form, which is the form for miscellaneous work, if you have made over $600 in the brand deal. If you have made less, they're not obligated to give it to you. So a lot of times you won't end up with a tax from like a 1099 or whatever. A lot of people get freaked out if they don't get the 1099 from a brand because they're like, oh no, what do I do? It's fine. You can just input that information manually. What site to file your taxes on? I filed them myself. Last year I hired somebody, but I just use Free Tax USA. It's free and it works perfectly fine. So you can manually input your brand deal information in there. The big one is just you need to get information from the brand. A lot of times it will ask you for the brand's mailing address or the brand's like their like office location and the brand name. So sometimes you might have to contact the brand to receive that information. I would also keep um yeah, if you don't have a 1099, you just manually input it. They don't give you a 1099 if you make less than two if that brand deal paid you less than $600. Sometimes even if they pay if it's over 600, they still don't give you a 1099. It's fine. You can manually input it. Hopefully you still get it. I would just what I do is I have a folder on my computer called tax forms and all the 1099s and stuff just go in there. A lot of brands will forget to give it to you. You might just have to reach out to them and be like, "Hey, what about my 1099? Whatever, can I get this?" But manually inputting it is completely fine. Um, Regarding other tax related things as a creator, you can write off a lot of stuff as a content creator, a lot. But follow the legal guidelines for tax write-offs. It's called your Schedule C on your tax form. That's where you can write off literally basically everything under the sun you've used as a content creator with caveats, okay? A lot of people try to sneak things into this tax write-off section that do not belong there. Now, for the most part, and I'm not an attorney by any means or like a tax person, they typically don't really audit you unless you make over like maybe 4 or 500K in the year. That doesn't mean start scamming on your taxes, but no, if you make less than that, okay? But that's just one thing to keep in mind. You can write off the price of things. So this camera, for instance, I'm going to write off. But you can only write off the price of a product if you use this product for work. So if you use this product, like if I use this camera for work and I also use it for personal, then you have to write off a percentage of that product. So let's say I use this camera 50% of the time for work, 50% of the time for personal usage. I could write off 50. There's like a lot of math jargon involved on the tax form that it will walk you through, but it's like a portion of 50% of this camera price depreciated over 5 years. There's also a choice to take all, okay, when it comes to big products as well, you have choices. So this camera is $2,000, right? You can either take the entire $2,000 write off in 1 year or you can depreciate it over future years. Which one should you do? You should write it all off in 1 year if this is the year you're going to make the most amount of money in the next 5 years. You should depreciate it if you think you're going to make more money in the future. So you take more money off of future taxes. Subscriptions and things, you can write all of that off. If you have Dropbox, Streamladder Gold, everything else, you like all of those write-offs because this is what you use for work. Software used for work, completely okay to write off. There's a section for it on your Schedule C. Um, Apartments. You can write off the square footage of where you work. Okay, so I live in a apartment with multiple bedrooms. This one is my streaming room. This room is only used for streaming, well, and playing TFT for fun. So I can write off the square footage of this room multiplied by the percentage of time I'm using it for work. So the rent write-off becomes a little bit tricky. You end up writing off, I don't know, like $100 or something for rent, but it works. If you go on trips, for work-related trips, all your food can be written off. Your housing can be written off as long as it's reasonable. So even if you like let's say you go to TwitchCon, right? TwitchCon ticket, complete write-off. All your food at TwitchCon, a write-off. Your housing at TwitchCon, a write-off. Your full housing. The food is half the price of the food, by the way, for business meals on travels. Um, just keep in mind the one thing is a necessary and reasonable expense. Is it reasonable for you to do this? If you are if okay, if you are going to TwitchCon and you booked yourself a 5-star penthouse suite for the entire weekend, that is not a necessary expense, okay? You that will if the IRS were to audit you, from my understanding of the US tax law, you're going to get in trouble because that's unnecessary, right? So, necessary expenditure. Now, in the fringe case, you work for a company where you're taking out a rich bougie client that also happens to be, I don't know, the monarch of Europe or something. Okay, then maybe we can argue the 5-star hotel is a necessary expense. But for you at TwitchCon, not necessary. Okay, so just keep that in mind with your expenditures. All your travel, all of that write-offs. If you had a business meal with clients, people, streamers, creators, where you guys are talking business, that's a tax write-off. Just don't be scamming. Some people are like, they try to write off clothes. Clothes, tricky write-off, okay? Because again, they're like, oh, I filmed an unboxing video for these clothes. That on its own cannot be a tax write-off because the clothing is then later used for leisurely usage. Just wearing a hee-hee to go to the mall with your friends doesn't count. An example of clothes that could count is like restaurant attire, scrubs. You're only wearing that to work. So that's a write-off. Yeah, gas, driving to and from work. Let's say you drove yourself to TwitchCon, all that gas, write-off. If you rented a car, all of that write-off. Cosplays, I'm not, disclaimer, I'm not a tax person, I'm not a tax attorney. I believe my interpretation of the tax law, cosplays would count because it's purchased specifically for the usage of work and you're not wearing it outside of work. It's literally only for work. But if you bought clothing and you don't use it for work and you use it for personal things, you cannot write that off. So don't start writing those things off because if you do get audited, you might get in trouble. So Danielle asked, do you have a process for filtering scam offers? I haven't done any deals because I assume any email I receive is a scam. Oh, okay. I would tell you a couple things to check for if you're getting an email. One, check the email. Is it at Gmail or is it at Elgato, at HyperX? Companies will reach out to you with their actual email. So if it's at Gmail, 99% of the time, scam. Second one, does that person actually work at that company? So it will say, I don't know, Jay at Elgato. Okay, well, let me go look on LinkedIn and look at who Elgato employs. Does Elgato employ Jay? If I don't see them on LinkedIn, scam. Moving on. Another one. A lot of times brand deals, especially for large companies, will happen through an agency. That in itself is not a scam. If you get emailed by, I don't know, hypothetically, Molly T agency is reaching out and they want to work with me for HyperX, that possibly could actually be a legit brand deal. I have personally gotten a lot of brand deals through a third-party agency for large companies because those companies don't have a influencer marketing department. They just outsource it to somebody else. So that on its own is likely possibly legit. I would just reply and look for some more information basically to kind of be like, hey, okay, so definitely interested, like what is the budget? What is this? Trying to get a feel for how the brand deal is going to work out. But another one is like if in the outreach email they're very unspecific, okay? There's something they say something like, "Hey Danielle, we love your videos and we love how positive and exciting you are in your content." That sounds specific until you think a little deeper into it and you're like, "Wait, this actually could apply to literally everybody that's a creator." So that on its own, red flag. But if they say, "Hey Danielle, I really link a video. I really like how you showcased the gaming headset in this video, and we want to work with you because we have a brand new drop coming out, this and this product." Because that email is hyper specific to the brand, to your content, a lot more likely it's actually a green flag that it is a legit thing. So those are just some things to look out for, to keep in mind. I will say, personally, almost every single email that I get is a scam. Almost every single one. We have like a minute left, but let me just see if I can pull up an example for you guys real quick, of what like a scam email actually looks like. So let me see. Okay, I found a screenshot real quick. Just this on its own looks really suspect. Okay. Wait, where's that? There we go. Exciting collaboration opportunity with Dreamcat from a Gmail account. A bit suspicious. For multi-cat households, there's no mention of me. There's no mention about my content. Um, I do have cats, but I've never made a cat-only video where I just showcase my cats. So that's a bit of a red flag, a bit suspicious. Let me pull up one more just to show you guys another example of like some weird ones that I've gotten. Oh, where did it go? There was some that was really funny because it didn't populate with the name. Okay. Another one is if they say, "Hi, dear friend." That just 99% of the time, always a bit suspect. Okay, I found one more. Another one is also if they use a really, really weird font. For some reason, those ones always end up being humongous red flags. Okay, here's one. It's from somebody called Serena Han, except their email is just this at gmail.com. Hi there. No mention of me. We're currently working with Trey and AI coding tool. Da, 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 da. Since you create content around AI slash coding tool slash developer workflows, I do not. So it's completely missed the mark for what type of content I make. Yeah, here is all the stuff that we want. Here's the budget available with some really, really suspicious looking non Gmail font. That is a red flag. Those are all scam emails. If you were to respond to it, maybe you might get somebody responding back to you, but 9 times out of 10, it's like a phishing email. They don't respond. They don't like ever reply back to you, and it just like gives you a run for your money. Would you say the specific technique for searching for brand emails to pitch to? I know some brand, yeah. So brands do have partnership portals. Sometimes LinkedIn. You can find a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. Sometimes DMing the brands also just works too. It does depend. Some because if you DM, half the time you hit their social media guy, but you could just ask them to direct you to the partnership person. If you go on Twitter and you look up partnership manager brand, like partnership manager Elgato, partnership manager HyperX, a lot of times they do have social media presences that you can find that you can then reach out to as well. And I personally have done stream elements and Twitch ones in the past. Recently, I have not, but the ones that I have done, I did it. I got paid out for it. I personally did a Raid Shadow Legends one, got paid for it. That was the most amount of money I made at the time. And as a college student, it was great. So these are all really, really great questions. And I really wish I could answer more of them. But we have reached the 1 hour mark. So unfortunately, I will have to sign off here. If you do have more questions you would like to ask me, um, feel free to reach out to me on my socials. Feel free to email me questions. I do check my email the most frequently out of all of my DMs. I don't often check my DMs, so if you do DM me, it sometimes just gets lost. But feel free to email me. This is my business email, so if I miss it, my manager will ping me when they also wake up. I also will be live in 1 hour, also with a sponsorship. Yay! But if you have more questions, feel free to also ask me in my live stream. I am more than open to answering any questions in my stream. And again, big thank you to Streamladder and Blurp for the Creator Accelerator program and hosting this for all of us creators. If you'd like to check it out, right there, !creator. And again, all of these workshops will be happening and you guys will still have access to it. We have more workshops coming next week, week 4 of the Creator Accelerator program, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So they will all be at 4 p.m. PST. So I hope you guys are as excited as me for all of that. I'm tripping over my words. We ran a little bit over time because I had some tech issues in the beginning of this stream. But thank you everybody for being here. And I hope to go and catch you guys in another workshop. Good night, guys, and good luck on getting your very, very, very first